Jones, Bob Wentz, and probably two of the best reasons I ever became a teacher. I had Racine Feely for English, who taught me how to write. I will be forever grateful. She was one of those English teachers who wrote on your paper and corrected it in red ink. On mine, she often wrote, "Oh, please." But with your help, I think Coast will continue to give students like me what they need and what they deserve. So thank you very much. Mary?
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Hornbuckle, and I'll give you the district's address, 1370 Adams Avenue. Dave and I have been on the sharing seats on the Board of Trustees there for, Dave's been on for a couple of years, and I've been on since 2005. We are desperate. That's the best way that I can put it. And you know, as representatives of the schools, how desperate times have become. Our concern, and I appreciated Mr. Reed's presentation on 30 and 38, our big concern is that Prop 38 has no money for higher education, $0 for us. And that could be quite a big concern. Our Measure M will not fund salaries, it won't fund pensions, it won't send money to Sacramento, but it will keep money for buildings, technology, services to veterans here in the local community. It's more or less a continuation of the Measure C program that gave us that wonderful Newport Beach Learning Center. And our measure has been endorsed by the Orange County Business Council and by OC Tax because we meet the accountability requirements with the Citizens Committee and so forth. It will result in a tax rate of $17.97 per $100,000 of assessed valuation. And just to be sure that the audience knows, that's not your selling price, that's your assessed valuation, and that's considerably lower. The state just doesn't fund scheduled maintenance anymore, as you know. And this will give us a chance to bring our facilities up to where they should be on the campuses, but more importantly, it will give us money for technology that we can't find anywhere else. It will help us to serve your students better as they move on into the college years. We do serve your students. We serve them when they come out of high school and go directly to one of our community colleges. We serve them when they can't get classes at one of the UCs or the CSUs, or when they can't find another school that they can afford. They come to us and get their general ed out of the way. And we have had to do some drastic cutbacks. So Measure M will provide us with funds to fund things that then relieve other dollars in the general fund so that we can provide more classes. I have a couple of information pieces for you, and with your permission, I'll leave them here. One is the frequently asked questions about Measure M. I think that's always helpful to have that information. And the other is yes, I support Measure M. So if you do and can, there's an address, an email address to send it back. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And by the way, I loved hearing from Danielle Dickey because we consider her to be one of our students too at Early College High School. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mrs. Foley.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank trustees Hornbuckle and Grant. I served for a couple years on the Measure C Oversight Committee and as chair for at least 1 year. The work that has been done with the prior bond was very successful. There was a lot of accountability, and the projects were typically either at budget, under budget, and on time. And so that's what we could expect, I would assume, from this bond if it should pass. And you'll have my support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
You don't mind if we leave, do you?
no, that's
You have your
fine.
homework.
Yes, right.
Ran the phone back.
Yeah, I know.
Very good. Our next card is from Kimberly Clater.
Well, before trustees Grant and Hornbuckle leave, I want to let you know that just get your, that the California Federation of Teachers is also recommending a yes vote on Measure M.
Oh, great.
And we've got it posted on our website and our e-voter guide as well. I wanted just real briefly to thank you, Dr. Reed, for your presentation on the comparison of Prop 30 and 32, or 38. I've got 32 on my mind. No, on 32. And I just wanted to, I know it's kind of a detailed, I'm sure you guys have probably seen the California Budget Project information, but I just wanted to also offer some copies of this for the public and for the trustees. And to also state that one of the reasons that California Federation of Teachers is supporting Proposition 30 is because it includes the community colleges. And so that's really important for us, and public services as well. So that is, I mean, we've got, I'm late tonight because we're phone banking on it, so thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much. Next card is from Kimberly Mims.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Navarro. It's nice to see you. I want to remind everybody about Bullying Month this month, and we have great concerns in the community still. I'm speaking for many voices, families, children, as well as good teachers. And we are talking about the complaint claims process. We want to simplify and make it easier, not just on a computer or words that are written on a paper, but it was interesting, I heard about a teacher who held up a paper to her students recently. She asked them to fold it, she asked them to step on it, and she told the students, make it how it was before. They couldn't do that. So she said, we won't tolerate bullying in the classroom. And I thought that was a very interesting analogy. We have scars that are left on families in this district. I'm still speaking for those voices. Dr. Navarro, and when I spoke on September 11th, we did lose, unfortunately, in the home hospital school program, a wonderful family, and also a child in the district that didn't have a teacher coming to her home. They still would like for you to call them. And what we want to do is implement systems to make changes so other people aren't having the continuous problems still, like I've been told. We have also lost a good teacher, Miss Folly. And again, my name is Kimberly Mims under P.O. Box 1642, Newport Beach, California, 92659. Community members have also started something under YouTube, under Bullying Warrior, BULLYINGWARRIOR. Bullying is also within council member meetings. It's within these meetings. We need mutual respect for everyone. We don't need to stay quiet and hidden when we've lost a good teacher at Newport Heights Elementary School, as well as our family, for reporting a fifth grade teacher bringing her toddler to school, compromising the education of her students. It wasn't the fact of reporting it, it was the major retaliation and the unsafe atmosphere that took place, not only for other children besides my own, but we lost a good teacher as well. They weren't in the group. They were politically pushed out. Also at Kelly Brook, when we had reported, a teacher had reported in staff drinking on the job back then. What I like to do is see the police department work closely with families, work with the board. When there's emergency situations that take place, we need to take them very seriously. And as board members, if we can't do our job and we're protecting one another, or maybe somebody's bullying you that you can't do your job, a claim or complaint disappears with evidence. Somebody doesn't stand up speaking for people for a year without reason. I'm looking for honor, respect, factual information that has been shared. We are still asking to make it a better school district and not create school policies later when the violations have already been done. We need to each stand up for each other and make a difference. And if I can help in any way, I would still like to meet with you, Dr. Navarro, whenever you like, and I'd still like to have all complaints and claims looked at over the past couple years. They seem to just disappear, and I don't want
Please, your
those
time is
voices
up.
to
Would you
disappear.
please summarize, please?
And again, if we can work closely with the police department, I know that there are families that went to the police department and they were told that they can have their child called names by the
Is this your
teacher.
summary, ma'am?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's the summary. and we want to continue reaching out to the board members for assistance, as well as you, Dr. Navarro. Thank you for your time.
Next item on the agenda is the public hearing. This is compliance with requirements for Education Code Section 60119 and 60422B. Sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials that are consistent with the content and cycles of the curricular framework for 2012-2013. With that, I'm opening the public hearing. And I do have a response card on that. Yes. Mrs. Claytor? Kimberly Claytor?
Thank you so much. I would just like to respectfully request that the board not vote on, or to, I guess it's poll item 16, whatever the item, or 26, the item regarding the resolution, and the resolution on this topic. Is it 26C or 26B?
26.
Okay, so the reason I'd like to request that to be pulled, and I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to talk to any of you ahead of time, is for a few reasons. So I am unaware of being encouraged or knowing of anybody who's being encouraged to participate in this hearing that I'm speaking in right now. I just found out about it. I know it was posted on the district website for the appropriate number of days, and perhaps I missed some encouragement, but the Ed Code requires that the governing board shall encourage participation by parents, teachers, members of the community, bargaining unit leaders, et cetera. So for that reason, that one reason, I'd also want to bring to your attention that I think that we still have some textbook deficiencies that I have not been able to bring to the district's attention yet at a few of our school sites. And I know that we have 2 months to comply, so if we put off adopting this resolution, then we can deal with those deficiencies that I just need to have some closure on before we move on this resolution. It may be, it came from just emails and phone calls just this week. We've got teachers who are saying they're having to print out emails that are being sent to them that have the textbooks. And I'm reading the Ed Code here, and having photocopies is not sufficient, or instructional materials, it's not sufficient to address the shortages. So our folks are being asked to photocopy some of these instructional materials from like PDF files, et cetera. So that's, again, I'm just hearing that at this point. I haven't been able to get to the bottom of it, and again, it's just a request at this point to maybe put off the resolution until the next meeting so we can meet on these issues and see if we can resolve them before we move forward with this resolution. I also hear a lot of times new students arrive in classrooms without textbooks and instructional material, and that happens on a frequent basis, according to the phone calls and emails that I've gotten just this last week. So that's my request.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I have 2 lights here on this. Mrs. Fluor?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is, isn't the Orange County Department of Ed charged with making sure that we're in compliance? And that and that they have to actually, they're the ones that actually come out and do the
Audit.
the compliance and the audit. Is that correct?
That's a little different part of the Williams Act.
Okay.
On instructional materials sufficiency, that is actually something that we have to do within the district.
Okay.
And I'll let Dr. Himon take over here, but I know that when I was in that role, that we had to have every site sign off that every child was given a textbook. The instructional materials basically is a textbook. There are some other things, but, you know, for this resolution, we basically are focused on textbooks. So Dr. Hemming,
And
maybe
is
you
it,
give
is
them-
it the previous year that we're signing off, or is it this year?
This year, it's for this year.
I just wanted to make
Can I
sure.
ask my question before he speaks so he can address mine as well?
Absolutely.
Okay. The other concern I had on this, I mean, one, I wanted to get an understanding of what exactly we did, because it's not in the staff report. And two, there's a whereas in the resolution, which I understand is the next item, but since we're talking about it, it says laboratory science equipment was available for science laboratory classes offered in grades 9 through 12. And I don't know what that means. That could mean that there was a microscope in every class. But if the class requires gloves and goggles and all kinds of other equipment, and we're not providing that, which I don't think we are, since parents are still being asked for donations, I'd like to understand what's required under the law to comply with this so that we can actually say this statement and whether or not we're in compliance.
There's an FAQ on the state website, and it tells you that everything that's required is what's required for the basic instructional program.
Okay, I
And-
just want to know what it is.
Yeah, and
I don't want to
so-
have to go look up the
Yeah,
FAQ right now.
And so what that means is if you're in a classroom, let's take a calculus class, and you need a T83 calculator, that would be something we would be required to provide to a student, if, you know, so that they can continue. So it's really just whatever is needed for the basic
I'm just
curriculum.
really specifically interested in the science, because it states here, whereas laboratory science equipment was available for science laboratory classes. Biology, as an example, is a laboratory science class. And it is my understanding that at, I think, all 4 high schools, we are not providing all of the required supplies. So I'd just like to understand what we think is in compliance and what we're providing.
So I think maybe it'd be best then for Dr. Hemming to go through how they survey the schools and how that information is collected.
Thank you, Dr. Navarro. And if I'd ask Dr. McLaughlin to come forward, he has program responsibility for this item, but let me touch on the answers to these questions. We do our due diligence. We do assure through our high school principals that all students have a textbook. We wouldn't sign off if we didn't believe that to be true. So Dr. McLaughlin will go through that. And I want to confirm what Dr. Navarro said, is that any classroom requirement is paid for by the school district. There is no science experiment that would take place with a required funding from a school, from a parent. Do science departments in this district and all districts still ask for donations? Absolutely. But as far as the baseline experiments in the classroom, and I'll be happy, I will personally go out and check that
You know I
tomorrow,
don't
but
think
I will
that's
be.
true.
I know, and that's why we're going to go out, but I am very confident that we'd have no fees for our students to run science experiments in particular, let alone any other core area. And I also have the greatest confidence that I wouldn't be attesting this before you this evening if we did not meet the Williams requirement. So, Dr. McLaughlin, if you'd walk us through the process, please.
But just to clarify,
Yeah.
there's a difference between fees and donations. We may not be asking for fees, but we're still not providing all the necessary equipment for the current modern science
Okay,
program.
and again,
Okay, so
our
let's
our
just-
science
I
curriculum.
just want the list, just give me the
Our-
list.
Again, the list would vary by class to class. It's whatever experiment they run in the class, but whatever experiment it is.
Okay, let's take biology
It is-
and chemistry.
It is fully funded by the school district, and we would not expect any family to pay for any experiment in the
Okay,
class.
so biology and chemistry, I'd like a copy of every single supply that we're paying for at all 4 high schools. Because I think it's
I'm going to
important.
go into a discussion with that because I'm going to sit here and attest to the fact that I have a kid in chemistry right now. Now, I had a choice whether she could be supplied a set of goggles, safety goggles, because they're required to be in class. They have to have a set of goggles. So it was either A, we'll give it to you, but you can't take them home and you can't, and you have to be very careful, or you can pick one up for $8 at the student store. The same thing with the calculator. My kid has been told, you need a calculator, We have some here available that you certainly can have, you can certainly use, but you can't take the thing home. So therefore, you have a choice. Either you keep it and you can use it in the classroom, or you go out and purchase, and they're very clear about, you know, here's the most economical one, this is the one that meets the standard and such. I mean, I think that, but it's never been told that we had to buy them. If we want to, it's a choice.
I have a different experience at both Costa Mesa High School and Corona Del Mar. So I have different experience.
So,
And I guess it all boils down to goggles and a calculator might be on the list. I just want to know, what is the list of things that are required versus what we're saying are supplementary? Because maybe what is being considered supplementary is something that should be required.
I think that this process is different than that, and I think Dr. McLaughlin will share that with you. This is really a collection of affidavits from the sites that say we have sufficiency of materials as they survey each department.
Thank you, President Brooks, Dr. Navarro, members of the board. Just to let you know about the process, it actually starts last year in the spring, where I work with the site administrators and really some of the unsung heroes, which are the librarian resource specialists or technicians at the site, especially at our comprehensive high schools and larger schools. There's a multitude of books and a multitude of resources that they manage through our systems. And so we begin the process back in March, April of last year. And based on those expectations in the classes and the request, they look at the resources they have not only at their own site, but we built a cohort where they will share across district to meet those demands, and then we develop the budgets accordingly. There are a lot of unpredictabilities with opening of the secondary schools, such as who shows up and what classes and some rearrangements. And so we work diligently with the administrators and the library specialists to meet those needs, whether that, again, is ordering new textbooks based on, or replacement textbooks based on budgets, or sharing in the district. And so I've surveyed the principals as indicated, and they've signed off on the affidavits that they've met the requirements as stipulated by the law for those books and the minimum requirements. There are a few that have been ordered at a few of our sites. Those are, if they haven't arrived by today, they were in the last week signed off that they would be arriving, and so we will be in compliance as the state requires based on those surveys, those techniques.
So specifically as to laboratory science equipment, you're talking about textbooks. So what did we do regarding laboratory science equipment? Because in this whereas, it says, whereas laboratory science equipment was available for science laboratory classes offered in grades 9 through 12 inclusive.
And again, back in the spring, we had the conversation with the secondary sites with respects to the basic needs within a lab, such as the goggles, the lab coats, the materials that they need. Each site is also allocated a budget, an instructional materials supply budget that they work with their departments, and they would allocate the resources as such. And so, again, they've indicated that they've met the requirements as the law stipulates. Now, as far as the list, I think we would have to work to get you those specifics.
So I guess I'm just still not getting the answer to my question, which is, what does the law require? What does the law require regarding laboratory science equipment?
Again, the basic requirements to run the labs, and I would have to, I would say, whatever is needed within the structure of the course content standards and the expectations in the class. And at a minimum, we have the goggles, the lab coats, the supplies.
Okay.
Mrs. Frankel.
Is it not also true, however, that in lab courses, if you have a need in several lab courses for the goggles, the gloves, and the lab coats, let's say, those are shared unless the kid has gone out and bought his own set of goggles and his own gloves?
Yes, I think that's reasonable to expect. They would share the materials, they would share the supplies, as they would a textbook. So in a similar capacity, they would share the textbooks amongst teachers and sites to meet those needs. So absolutely.
Right, and I know in English classrooms, for example, in the high school that I know a little bit about, there is an opportunity for the kids to purchase the reading book. The school will, however, provide it to them, but they cannot then underline the book they have. They cannot, make circles around particular paragraphs or sentences. Whereas if they have purchased the book, it's theirs, and they may do with it as they choose. So I think that it's not a question of we're not providing it, but they have this option of, yes, they have the access to the book, they can read it, take it home, the whole thing, but they must not write in it. If they write in it or underline in it, then they have bought it,
Yes.
which makes good
That's not my experience
to me.
either.
Trustee Foley.
Okay, Mrs. Black, you have your light on as well?
Yeah, I'm, me, I'm cut to the chase. And I am concerned if we have a trustee that's making a comparison with Corona Del Mar and Costa Mesa and stating that we don't have the equal equipment.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not,
Well,
I'm
you
saying
said
at both
there's a big
schools.
difference
No, I didn't.
between Costa Mesa.
I said at both schools, I have paid for that, at both schools.
At both
And
schools.
she's saying she didn't at Estancia.
Well,
So
I-
that's
I
what
bought my
I'm
own.
making the comparison in between
Well,
those two.
and that's why-
I know, and we buy our own
Yeah.
reading books because it's easier.
Anyway, all I want is the information, and that's all this is a public hearing to get information. And so we don't have the information available to us tonight to even be able to pass this resolution. We're being asked to pass a resolution based on just the assurance that, yes, it was done. But when requesting the information as the backup, what's the backup to? I don't even know what the list of required laboratory science equipment, what does that mean?
And again, I'm going to go back to the structure of this initiative, okay, of this statute. The statute requires a site administrator to sign off on an affidavit that, yes, every child has the basic instructional materials in every department.
So why can't we just why
Because-
can't we get the information as a board when you're asking us to pass a resolution?
Because what we're asking the board is what we're saying to the board is that we're following the state guidelines on this, the state regulations. The state requires us, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. McLaughlin, we download the forms from the state. They come from the state that we share with the principals, and then they sign off. At least that's the way it was in Anaheim.
And this is what we've continued the past few years,
Right.
is that sign-off form, and it lists out the required courses and the materials, and yes or no, it hasn't met the obligation, and if not, a rationale as to why and what steps are taking place.
And it may be that the state law only requires goggles. I have zero idea what is required because we don't have that data available to us tonight to review. That's
Right.
all I'm saying.
That's right, but what I'm saying to you is you're not voting on that. You're voting on the affidavit provided by the...
No, we're
this-
passing a resolution as the next item. In the resolution, it specifically says that we are affirming that this is true.
And it's based on the affidavits provided by your site
We
administrators.
don't even have a copy of the affidavits to look at. So all I'm saying is we don't have enough information. I don't. Everybody else may, but I don't.
Hang on. Okay, we have several lights here. Okay. Let's go Mrs. Black, then Mrs. Franco, and then Mrs. Fleur.
I don't want to put the principals on the spot, but we have several high school principals, and I would like to hear from them to understand how they handle the process at their site, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I could, if maybe Dr. Bauermeister would like to come up and share the process. I don't think it's a lot different than it was when we were at Costa Mesa High.
And the process isn't what I'm asking about. That's not going to answer my question. I'm specifically requesting information about what does it mean to provide laboratory science equipment for all laboratory science classes.
Right.
And I don't think that Dr. Bauermeister, with all due respect, telling us that we went through and we did that is going to answer my question because he's not going to, I don't know, maybe he will, tell me what the state law requires.
And if I could just, again, clarify for the board, that's not what the state is asking us to pass. They're asking us to pass approval of this based on the site administrator signing off on an affidavit that we have all of these.
I think you need to read the resolution. That's not what we're doing.
Could I clarify this for a minute? I think the fact of the matter is that we have 1,000 school districts in the state of California, and God only knows how many chemistry classes there are within the state of California. And
They're all doing the same
I
thing.
mean, and they all have, and we're saying that they all have required whatever the core curricular is and whatever the standards are and the course content, that all the equipment is attesting within that. Now, we can't be specific in terms of saying, well, there needs, you need to have 65 Bunsen burners in this class because there's 65 students, and you don't need 35 in here. We're asking that what this law says, and the Williams complaint says, that this principal at each one of our high schools, or the assistant principal, has assured that within their classes at their school, that there is sufficient materials of whatever nature is deemed within that classroom, if I'm going the right way, within that classroom, whether it's a chemistry, honors chemistry, or biology, honors, whatever it is, that there's sufficient materials within that class to meet the criteria that that teacher has established within the course content. Does it, and that you're affirming, and I guess the fact of the matter is, it's not, I'm not interested in saying that, Dr. Buyermeister, you're supposed to, are you assuring me that you actually went into each classroom and counted, or are you trusting and you place the trust and you question the teachers and say, do you have enough materials? And if you don't, we're going to get you the correct materials. Is that not how it works?
Yes.
And I know it does.
That is the essential question.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
this hearing is going to be very interesting. I do have a question, though, which I think we'll decide where we're going to go from this point on. And before you answer the questions, Dr. Buyermeister, like that, in the resolution, it says that on Tuesday, October 9th, which is on or before the 8th week of school. Are we under a time limit for this, for the 8th week of
Yes.
school?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, and we do not have another board meeting between now and the 8th week of school, as I recall.
Nope.
Okay, thank you. I'm just wanted to make sure that we were under this, the time limit is there. Okay, thank you. Dr. Buyermeister. No, Dr. Buyermeister, no.
I thought you were
No, no.
releasing me.
No, I just had that question before.
Thank you, and now
Yes,
it's your
okay. Yes, Dr. Meyer, but now we are required that we have to come up with something here for this. So thank you very much. If you would go ahead and answer whatever the question might have been at the, yes.
She wants to
Dana,
know
what was your question?
Let him talk.
I think it's a process question more than anything else for us as principals. And again, I'm not an expert in what they need in biology or chemistry. Our teachers are. And so we have the form, again, to make sure that they have all the materials they need to conduct all the things that they need for their class. And again, if they don't have what they need, that's what we do over the summer, is we order all those things. As Dr. McLaughlin said, sometimes we have more kids come in than we anticipated, or we have to close a class or open a class, and so we have to order more things. But that's kind of the process, is again, we have the form, we have the state, and I think what you're asking for is those materials for each class, and we can get you those, what those things are for each class. I mean, the teachers have all those. I don't know those off the top of my head. I'm not a science expert, but it's as Trustee Fleur said, is, again, we depend on our teachers to tell us what are the materials that you need for this class, and then it's my job to make sure that they have those, and then sign off on the affidavit that we're meeting the minimum requirement.
Thank you. Mrs. Franco, do you still have a question?
Well, all right, correct me if I'm wrong, because I may be. You are signing an affidavit, having surveyed your teachers, having asked them, do they have the equipment that they need to safely and educationally do the coursework that they are teaching to their students, correct?
Yes.
All right, what I am being asked to do is to accept your affidavit more than to go and say, I need to do this or that or whatever. I am accepting your affidavit. You signed off on the bottom line.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would, at this point, I believe I'm going to go ahead and close this public hearing. No, we have, this is coming back up again, folks.
I
This is
know.
only the first here, this is only the first round with this. So I'm going to close this public hearing. We're going to proceed on to the next item on the agenda.
Could we take a slight break?
Just hang on for just a second,
Okay.
okay? And with that, so this public hearing is now closed. Now, we have been going, this board has been going since 4:30 this afternoon. We have had 2 hours and 12 minutes of this meeting, and we are going to take a break for, let's come back at 20 minutes after.
Thank you.
All right.